World War III threat, Donald Trump intends to kill vicious animal North Korea. Joseph M. de Thomas warned the gears of war are beginning to grind inexorably as he offered a chilling insight into the escalating crisis. The professor warned U.S. President Donald Trump shares one common and dangerous trait with the man blamed for the First World War, German Emperor Kaiser Wilhelm II. Comparing Mr. Trump to Kaiser Wilhelm II, Mr. de Thomas said both had ultranationalist bully boy style of diplomacy. And, as the world teeters on the edge of, Mr. de Thomas said Mr. Trump intends to cause the extinction of North Korea. He said, he has cornered the vicious animal and told it he intends to kill it and its young. Mr. de Thomas, a professor of practice in the School of International Affairs of the Pennsylvania State University, said major wars are not created with a single action but more a flow from a series of decisions that drive participants towards a sense that no other action but war can extricate them from their predicament. He said, many historians now credit Kaiser Wilhelm II of Germany's July 2, 1914 telegram to the Austrian government, which gave his ally a so-called blank check to do whatever it wished in the crisis with Serbia, as the fatal step that set the machinery inexorably in motion for the catastrophe of World War I. Trump shares one common and dangerous trait with the Kaiser. Both were amateur militarists given to public bluster and adopting an ultranationalist bully boy style of diplomacy, in part to cover up vast weaknesses in their own characters and their lack of understanding of their country's true strengths. But neither of those individuals intended to unleash catastrophe. But the professor warned crackpot dictator Kim Jong Un his troops could be successfully disarmed and paralyzed in its command and control by a well-planned nuclear strike drawing on U.S. strategic forces. And this is because Mr. Trump blindly sees himself as a heroic figure standing up to mad tyrant using rhetoric, economic pressure and, if necessary, military force to break him. Writing for 38 North, a Washington-based think tank monitoring North Korea, Mr. de Thomas said, Mr. Trump does not see because he does not understand the vast risks he is running for his own citizens, or millions of residents of East Asia. Any error or misstep in this highly unstable strategic environment could ignite a nuclear-first strike. We are not yet at the point of war, but the gears of war are beginning to grind inexorably towards it. The lamps are going out in Asia. And Mr. de Thomas, who served as U.S. ambassador to Estonia from 2001 to 2004, spent 29 years as a member of the U.S. Foreign Service and 32 years in the U.S. Department of State, warned Mr. Trump's recent backing of sanctions against North Korea will only pour gasoline on the fire he set in New York. The U.S. president sparked controversy when he used his inaugural United Nations address to mock the North Korean dictator as a rocket man on a suicide mission for himself and his regime. Mr. de Thomas said Mr. Trump's confidence could be because he believes behind the scenes Pyongyang is bluffing and is prepared to walk back from the precipice. He said, it would not be the first time Pyongyang changed course when it felt war was getting close. The North Korean expert warned denuclearizing North Korea is a worthy goal. It is not worthy of a nuclear war in East Asia even one the U.S. would win. He said, there are less appealing but acceptable alternatives that would leave U.S. alliances intact and allow the natural advantages of the U.S. and its allies to erode North Korea's hostility over time. It comes as Pyongyang accused the U.S. of declaring war on Kim Jong Un's rogue state and vowed to strike U.S. bombers in airspace outside North Korea. The White House branded the accusation absurd and denied declaring war on North Korea hours after admitting Mr. Trump will have options on how to deal with Pyongyang presented to him if provocations continue.